Welcome everyone to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host Sean Gann alongside my partner Jack and Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you have the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at JustSayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget to get us in your ear at Just Saying Football. That is a mouthful right now after a long day of work. But we are here. It is week 7. We have Ravens and Bills on a bye. London game again, and a double Monday night football for the second week in a row. What are your thoughts going into this one? Giants got the huge win last week. My Vikings were on a bye.
Yeah, dude. Big. We're going to be talking about the Giants later. A lot of upsets last week. We were calling the upsets 2 weeks ago, and boy, did they happen this week. A lot more injuries to cover as well. But, we got some teams right now that are looking way better than we thought they would at the beginning of the season. And some that are looking worse. And one of those, we'll get into right in our first game.
Yeah, so we have the Pittsburgh Steelers making their way to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Pittsburgh favoring this one by -5.5 with an over-under here of 42.5. Now, Jamar Chase made a comment during the post-game about the Steelers coming in to raw dog them, which was a little bit unusual of him. Did not hit the hot mic very well in that regard. One thing I want to say about this game, I'm locking in the Steelers, but I do think if you're a Jamar Chase owner or hopefully a T. Higgins owner coming up, I do think you at least have a viable quarterback where it's almost like a Justin Jefferson, slightly better situation potentially where at least you can start him comfortably knowing his floor is probably 13 to 15, but any given week he can easily get you 25.
Yeah, and, pause on Jamar, obviously, for that statement, but then we also, the team I was talking about being worse is not the Steelers here. It's been the Bengals, man. They kept it close last week, but, 5.5 here for Pittsburgh on the road against a divisional opponent. Everybody's kind of looking to the Steelers to get this done. A lot of road dogs have been getting it done in prime time, so not a bad wave to ride, but I'm sorry, but they're favorites, and they're on the road now. And I think that that's a big reason the Steelers, they got 6 sacks last week, and I think that's a huge X factor for them this week is their defense. Sean, you said week 1, how we look at this defense, around this time, and they're better than we thought they were, but thank God they have a good matchup here. I'm still taking the Steelers. Shout out DK Metcalf for closing up the anytime parlay last week, but I'm going with the Steelers on the road, man.
All right, we love it. They're playing pretty well. Let's see what they can do this week in a divisional match. Moving this in, 9:30 a.m. in London. Los Angeles Rams making their way to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. LA's favoring this by -3 with an over-under here of 44.5. Now, Puka Nacua is out for a few weeks with a shoulder injury. Jags somehow are 4-2. They are keeping up somewhat in the race that is the AFC South, led by the Colts, as everybody called. And they're playing the Rams. What are your thoughts with no Puka? Is this a game for the Jags to be able to win?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jags this week as dogs. I love LA this year, but what they're dealing with right now, that's a real blow not having Puka in there. Obviously, you still have Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams. But Jacksonville, they've been getting it right. Right now, they're 4-2. They're in a more competitive division than we thought it was going to be this year outside of the Titans. Give me Jacksonville at home with the Rams traveling. I think that this could be, a big day for Travis Etienne, but we're going to have to see, if Trevor Lawrence can kind of keep that magic up. But they're on the long week too, so I'll take Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jags are not unfamiliar to London. They've been one of the first teams traveling out there for quite some time. But I am going to go with the Rams here, despite the injury to Puka. I think people forget Devontae Adams is still on that team. There's always potential to lead as a wide receiver 1, especially when it's just for a couple of weeks. I think that's very easy for him to do. We haven't really only seen a game or two where he's really popped off the top, so to speak, so let's see if he can do that a little bit more. I still don't know what to make of this Jacksonville team. They feel like they are good and they're not good. Last week was a little bit of a wake-up call against a very good Seattle team. But I'm locking in the Rams. I think that they have a better defense, and that's ultimately going to be what slows this Jags team. We saw Travis Etienne last week get absolutely bottled up, and then they became very one-dimensional. I think that's a high chance it happens again this week. Moving this right along, we have the New Orleans Saints making their way to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears are favoring this by -4.5 with an over-under here of 45.5. Spencer Rattler having a good season, man. Over 1,200 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. Now, not a lot of TDs. But he's only a second-year player. He's looking pretty solid. What are your thoughts going into this game? Any chance for the Saints to pull off a surprise?
Yeah, man, I like the Saints are better than we thought they were going to be this year. I'm taking the Bears at home this week. I just see this. This isn't your old Drew Brees Saints. This is obviously the rebuild Saints, and the Bears got it done last week in a game we didn't expect them to against the Commanders. Big stat here, like we said, Chris Olave right now behind Puka Nacua, even though he got hurt last week, second in receptions right now. Definitely a viable fantasy starter or a low-key trade target for you out there. He's getting absolute targets. He's one catch behind Puka in between him and Christian McCaffrey. So when shout out to the Bears. They're doing it right. They're winning games right now. But the Saints, they got a little more juice than we think.
I got to also go with the Bears. I think last week really showed that they can put it all together when they needed to. The run game really got going, which is something that you hope to see. I thought DeAndre Swift was going to really excel in the Ben Johnson offense due to his time in Detroit when he was there. I think they're just a better overall team, and these are the games you have to win against a not-so-great New Orleans Saints team that are supposedly Demario Davis getting called up, and Alvin Kamara is getting calls about his trade potential. So
Sean's been making calls for Alvin Kamara to get traded.
I have been. Supposedly he wants to stay in town, but let's see if he does. I'm going with the Bears. I think they have us figured out. I like them in this one. Moving this right along, we have the Miami Dolphins making their way to Cleveland, take on the Browns. Browns favored this by -2.5, and over-under here of 40.5. I'm going to just lock in the Browns right now. I feel like just with this defense and the way that the offense of the Dolphins are playing, I'm just not trustworthy of it. I'm fine with the comments that Tua made about players not showing up to meetings or being late, not setting a standard. That doesn't bother me the way it bothered others. But there's so much going wrong with Miami right now. I just don't like it for any reason, unless you're like a Devontae or a Devon Achane owner in fantasy or a Jalen Waddle owner in fantasy. I'm staying away from this game, and the Dolphins just probably rest a year, same as I felt with like the Saints. So I got to go with the Browns. That defense of Myles Garrett should have a field day.
Yeah, Miami, every year we feel like Sean has that one team that you just know he's not going to pick the rest of the season early like this. We had a couple of Russell Wilson Denver Bronco years there of that, and it's looking like Miami. I am on your way, buddy. They're going into Cleveland right now. Cleveland still has a great defense. Dylan Gabriel, he's been sacked 8 times in 3 games, which isn't terrible. You got some guys getting rocked, but still got to keep him up. 3 touchdowns, 3 games, 430 yards, 81.2 passer rate. Now I'm going to give this kid it. He'll have my stamp of approval as long as he's playing good. But man, I was looking at these stats too. Right now, leading the league is Jordan Brooks for Miami in tackles for the whole league, and I'm like, how could he not? The guy has been on defense 80% of his games, and it's just one of those things. You got to pick the Browns. The Browns defense is going to give Miami some hell this week.
I like it. All right, moving this right along, we have the New England Patriots making their way to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Patriots favoring this one -7 with an over-under here of 41.5. Big news out of Tennessee is Brian Callahan, the head coach, was fired. Doesn't really help them out overall just based on what's going on. However, you do hope that this helps Cam's Ward development. Doesn't look like Brian Callahan knew what he was doing with him. Maybe that was the same with Will Levis. Who knows? We'll never know because they drafted Cam Ward. So what are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, man, we both loved Cam Ward in the offseason, and I know I wanted him on the Giants. I'm a big Jackson Dart guy now, but man, did he wind up in one of the worst situations you could wind up in. We've seen this too much with the number 1 picks. Their head coaches get fired the first year, and it's like, what are you supposed to do with this guy's development? And, New England, they're doing the opposite. They have Drake May absolutely developed. He is balling out right now. New England could give Buffalo, after that loss on Monday night, they could give Buffalo a little run for their money, especially now they have the head-to-head. So I'm taking the Pats, man.
Yeah, I also have to lock in the Patriots. Drake May looks great. Stephon Diggs looks great. They have a good they have a solid offense. If this ground game gets going, they have potential to maybe surprise people, make it in the playoffs like they did a few years ago with Mac Jones. People forget that, but Mac Jones led the team to the playoffs. That happened. But I do think this is a very winnable game for them. I think that's Mike Vrabel going against his former team that he coached in. This is also something for this team to play with, so keep that in mind as well. Got to go with the Pats. Moving this right along, we have the Las Vegas Raiders making their way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored this by -11.5 with an over-under here of 45.5. And the Chiefs are getting Rashee Rice back in this one, which is huge news. And they'll have Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy all together on the field for the first time this season. This is what everybody did not want to see happen. Them at 3-3, and now they're getting fully healthy. This has potential to be dangerous for them. I'm gonna stay away from the minus 11.5. That's for sure, just because that's such a big spread. But I'm locking in the Chiefs for sure. 10 interceptions for Geno Smith. It's not looking good. I don't know what's going on over there. Hopefully, the Ashton Genty continues this little streak he's been having.
Yeah, it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be kind of hard for him to do that, though, with such a negative game script. I feel like this week we're really going to get to see some Ashton Genty receiving work because they're not going to be able to stop him. Chris Jones, I know he's getting all the flack for, not moving, being statuesque on that game winner from Trevor Lawrence, but he's definitely going to be going after Ashton Genty this week, and Geno Smith. Like you said, the KC, three-headed dragon is back. They're 3-3. I hope we enjoyed talking crap about Kansas City while they were down because this is when things are going to start getting dangerous for them. Rashee Rice being back, we loved Rashee Rice last year. You were a huge guy with him, Shanzi, and with Worthy, so it's just great to see those guys back, but I'm staying away from that 11.5 as well.
Yeah, can't trust that. All right, moving this right along. Philadelphia Eagles make their way to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Philadelphia's favorites by minus 2.5, then over under here at 43.5. Now, the Vikings getting some reinforcements in this one. Donovan Jackson, Brian O'Neill, Blake Cashman, Michael Juergens, and Andrew Van Ginkel all have potential to play in this one. Some of them, including Brian Cashman and Brian O'Neill, seem to be trending heavy favorably early on this week to play. So keep all that in mind for Minnesota. That's some great news for them. They've been injured just as much as any other team, minus the 49ers, who just have everybody gone at the moment. But what are your thoughts on this one? Giants got the win last week. We don't know who's starting this week yet between Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, it depends on who you'd want them to start. Do you want to start the guy who's been good and he's coming off the bye, or do you want the rookie that, you came to the dance with in the first place? And I'm looking at this as a big trip for the Vikings. There's always big matchups with them and the Eagles. I think that the Eagles, there's two stories here. The Vikings are going to be prepared. They had the time to prepare with the bye, and then you have Philly, who is absolutely probably pissed off the fact that they lost to the Giants last week at their home turf. Now they got to go travel. Like you said, a lot of injuries in this game, so I hope that Philly can take advantage of it. I'm going to take Philly in this one. Hate to do it. To the Vikings fans, I hope they get this win. But right now, I think the little revenge for Philly is huge for Saquon. And I'd love to see Devonta Smith get involved. But got to shout out Dallas Goedert. He's looking like a top 5 tight end this season. We'll see what happens when George Kittle and Brock Bowers come back. But, he's getting some shine this year for sure.
Yeah, but he's looking great. Great tight end. T.J. Hawkinson for the Vikings, also great tight end. See if he gets more involved. I hope could be. You never know. I hope that they start Carson Wentz in this one just for the sake of the injury with J.J. McCarthy. Just let him get to 100%. Let's figure this fully out. I think our offense is playing a little bit better under Wentz, not because it's just he sees the field better. He knows his place. It's getting the ball out quickly. I am going to go with the Eagles though. The Vikings have the 24th ranked run defense. Eagles have the 27th, but Saquon Barkley is now officially the second best running back in the NFL because Bijan is insane, and we'll get into that later on. But you still have Saquon Barkley on that team, and that is a guy that can easily just take over. They still have a great passing offense when they choose to pass the ball a lot with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Isaiah Rodgers is going to be playing his former team. That's something to just keep and watch. He's been having a hell of a season. Hopefully it continues to build. But I like the Eagles in this one. There's something about this get-right game that I don't like for the Vikings. It feels like it's going to be high scoring, but probably in the favor of the Eagles, which upsets me. So moving this right along, best game of the week by far. It's the Carolina Panthers making their way to New York to take on the Jets. Panthers are favored this one minus 1.5 and over under here at 42.5. Jack, what are your thoughts on this? Because I'm going to look up something, and I'm curious to see. I'm going to let everybody know what I'm looking up in just a second.
So I'm looking at Carolina right now. Talk about a quarterback I've talked crap about before with Bryce Young. He looks great this season. Ted McMillan got his first career touchdown last week, gave that to his grandpa. Pretty cool guy. But, man, the Jets 0-6 right now. Aaron Glenn, the guy just got there. People are gunning for his job. Gotta love that. They just are not playing consistent. They should have won that game against the Broncos last week. Now they get a chance to play Carolina at home, but Carolina is hot. When we were looking at this matchup early season, we were like, oh man, maybe it could be close. The Jets look better on paper. Now I don't think that. I think the Carolina Panthers are competing this year a little bit better than I expected. So I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers on the road.
I'm also going to take the Panthers. What I was looking up was what are the price difference in current Giants versus Jets home games. So for the record, we living in New York, things are expensive. The Giants' cheapest ticket on Game Time with fees included is $236. That's all the way in the nosebleeds, section 328, row 26, or all the way back up there. Okay. For the Jets, it's a whopping $61 if you want to go to a game right now, including fees. Also in the nosebleeds, row 2309. That's not good for New York sports. Just for the record, that is just
that is insane.
That is normally they're not this low. Jets, it's rough when you're 0-5, 0-6. I mean,
you get instead of paying for a Giants ticket, you go get yourself a VIP Jets ticket at MetLife, and you go ride that thing.
Take 4 of your friends, go to a Jets game, and that's the same as your one Giants ticket. All right.
What a mess. At least the Giants ain't playing at home this week, though.
Yep, because you know where they're making their way? New York Giants.
Where are they making their way to?
Making their way to Denver to take on the Broncos. Broncos favored in this one, -7 with an over-under here of 40.5. I have to say, dude, I'm going to lock in the Giants in this one. The main reason, I do think that the Broncos are a better team on paper. I think that they're one of the better teams in the AFC. I mentioned this last week. Travel. I'm always worried about the traveling. They didn't have a great game in London. They're coming back from they're coming back from this trip. They're doing the travel. Giants coming off of a huge win. Rookies, they've stolen the exciting whites from the Eagles already, and Jackson Dart and Cam Scatabo.
Yeah, I think they're calling them the creatine Caucasians now.
The creatine Caucasians.
They got a bunch of nicknames for him, but all that I care about, man, they ran for a combined 4 touchdowns against that Eagles defense last week. And you call him whatever, but you're going to call Cam Scatabo by his full name because he is Cam Scatabo.
Dude, I'm locking in the Giants. I think that there's a way for them to surprise. Brian Burns is playing great. I know that this Broncos defense has the reigning defensive player of the year in Patrick Surtain. They could easily have the new defensive player of the year in Nick Pitino, but I think that the Giants are going to go out there and potentially surprise people. That's a dog pick of the week.
Yeah, man. I was sitting on the couch last week watching the Giants game, and I was sitting there, and my roommate Garrett, he goes, yeah, is Wan'Dale Robinson even that good? And the moment that he said that, boom, sideline catch, takes it. We kind of forget that despite Malik Neighbors having, the 5th most catches in the league as a rookie last year, Wan'Dale had the 13th most catches with that offense, with all those mess of a quarterback situation for the Giants. So I'm taking the Giants here because I saw Denver last week, and they were way more inconsistent in a matchup they should have dominated. Like you said, maybe the travel was a factor, but I am taking the Giants all day in this one. I love how their offense looks. They look like a completely brand new team. And they're really just, they're just not giving up. You see them up by 10 in the past. You think they're going to blow it. Last week they kept that lead. They dominated against a team I honestly didn't think they were going to beat.
Yep, I was surprised also with that. Very happy with it. Despite having to work through some of the game, I was happy to be able to watch some. Love that when the Giants win. New York feels better when football teams are doing a little bit better. Yankees and Mets are always fun to watch, but there's something about the football teams when they're here. That's when New York's feeling electric.
Yeah, Yankees too soon though. Too soon.
Too soon. Yeah, we'll get into that another day. Move this into the 4:05 games. We have a great one in this one. An AFC showdown when the Indianapolis Colts make their way to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Chargers are favored this by -1.5 with an over/under here of 48.5. I'm gonna be honest, dude. I'm surprised that the Colts are not favored in this one. Because I'm locking them in because at this current pace, Jonathan Taylor is set to beat his previous personal best of his 2022 season. He's projected to get like 24 touchdowns and 1,800 yards at the moment with the way that he's running the ball. And Daniel Jones looks comfortable. This offensive line is not allowing sacks. The Chargers pass rush is not the strongest at the moment without Khalil Mack. I think this is an opportunity for the Colts to really say, like, you can't doubt us anymore again. You can't doubt us anymore again. I think that's just going to be one of those things where it's going to happen this week.
Yeah, and the Colts, I mean, we said it the last couple of weeks, they've just been such a awesome surprise for this year. Daniel Jones just playing out of his mind. The Chargers, they are just too injured for me right now. You see Quentin Johnson out last week. You see Amari and Hampton out last week. And despite them scoring 27 points, they had to eke a win out against Miami, who we just went off on moments ago. So I'm looking at the Colts here on the road. Not a thing I'm going to worry about them traveling for in this game. They're dogs on the road. And the AFC South, man, we talked about it before. It's competitive right now. And the Colts want to win this. They're running through Taylor, as you said. Michael Pittman's getting touchdowns every couple of, every game, and they're running through it. So I'm love how they're getting involved with Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce and, getting the tight ends involved. Chargers a little too injured for me to pick them this week, so I'll go with the Colts.
I like it. Moving this right along, 425. Washington Commanders making their way to Dallas, take on the Cowboys. Washington's favoring this one -2.5, and over-under here of 53.5. The Cowboys just lost to the Panthers, which everybody was surprised by. Stephen A. Smith was happy. Commanders lost to the Bears because of some errors on their own part and inability to stop the run. Despite all this, dude, I gotta go with the Commanders. I just think that their defense and team overall is better, and you lose to the what's it called? The Panthers. You start to worry a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Commanders losing to the Bears. You got the Cowboys getting revenge game by Rico Dowell last week. Didn't mention him in the Panthers game, but I got to give a shout out to him. 200 yards back-to-back weeks from scrimmage, and that's why they're winning. And Dallas right now, they look like they, really could just, they're running everything through George Pickens and Jake Ferguson right now, which is absolutely working for them. I actually like the Cowboys a lot in this matchup. The Commanders last week, you could see the absence of Terry McLaurin there. Bill wasn't getting going. I think this is a good matchup for Bill, but I do see Javonte Williams having a good game in this one as well. George Pickens, another guy who got the anytime touchdown this week. I think that's a safe play. He's literally, I think he's a rest of season fantasy starter. Same with Jake Ferguson. They're must-start guys. On the other side, you have, a lot of players in the Commanders, but I will take Dallas as dogs at home against a division opponent this week.
Yeah, I really want to also see Terry McLaurin get back. It's like the holdout with everything this season, then finally getting the contract. And look, injuries are a part of the game. It's nobody's fault for anybody getting injured, ultimately. Unless a doctor's like, go out there, display your ACL being torn. But ultimately, it's been a little bit subpar of what you feel like this offense could potentially be. So hopefully it's soon that he returns and this offense can really get going. But we love Bill on this one, and hopefully there's no more fumbles going forward.
Yeah, no more fumbles. I mean, I will say it's kind of like the Brandon Ayuk thing where it's like there is an entire scientific way of that they've trained and put this together so your body's ready for the full season. And when you miss the summer due to holdouts, we've seen these guys come back and their bodies are just not ready because they want to stay safe, but they haven't trained to the level that you need to be at midseason form at this point. We saw that with Brandon Ayuk last year, came back very shaky, also got injured. I mean, Chris Godwin, there's guys that hold out and boom, you just have, you're not as prepared. I'm definitely seeing that this year with Terry, and it's unfortunate because I like the guy.
Yeah, he's a great player. Moving this right along, another 425 game. Green Bay Packers making their way to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Green Bay serving this one -6.5 and over-under here of 44.5. Got to lock in the Packers. I think that they're just a great team overall. We saw Josh Jacobs go off last week for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. A little bit disappointing in Jordan Love overall. Just want to see more out of the passing attack.
Yeah.
But you don't need to when you have Josh Jacobs running the ball like that. But I do think this is maybe a game where we see their pass attack be a little bit more of the feature. Arizona has a pretty good run defense, pretty good attack on that. So we'll be curious to see that. And by subpar week for him, it's just like, oh, you got 90 yards.
Yeah, no, I shout out Josh Jacobs, won me my fantasy matchup against Chauncey this week. Had to mention that. He knew that was coming. But the fact is, too, Arizona, another team kind of affected by injuries here. Green Bay, I mean, they are so interesting, just, coming off that 40-point tie. They lost, to the Browns. It's like some weeks they look like the best team in the NFL, and they, I think this is a great matchup against Arizona. Right now, I believe, too, that, Marvin Harrison is still questionable. I know he got out of the game last week, and Kyler Murray obviously hurt, too. Jacoby Brissett kept it close in his revenge game last week, but he didn't get the job done. And even if he did, I still wouldn't have the confidence in them in this game. So I'll take the Packers, and I honestly would take another Tucker Kraft touchdown this week. He's phenomenal, and start him every week in fantasy as well.
Yep, we love that. All right, moving this right along. Sunday Night Football. Atlanta Falcons making their way to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. San Francisco favoring this by -3. Over under here, 46.5. Obviously, Drake London, Bijan Robinson putting on a show in the first half. I'm going with the Falcons. I really like what we saw. That bye week did wonders to them. The only thing that I want to see is 4 quarters. The Bills were in that. The defense held down the fort. But let's get 4 quarters all the way. Full dollar, baby. I want to see that offense continue to run up the score. 21 did not do justice to how good that offense was in the first half. And yes, it could have been 28. He stepped out of bounds, but it should have. It felt like that was a game where they could have had 35, 42 points. Bills made some adjustments. Of course, got to give credit where credit is due, but still, it felt like they could have put up more and played the full dollar.
Yeah, man. Thank God they're getting a little break this week, but the Falcons back-to-back primetime games, and they have to be feeling good. And they're dogs again after that performance against a banged-up San Francisco team. I said it before, too, with CMC, third in receptions behind Puka and Chris Olave. Yes, again, that stat is true. Chris McCaffrey, 50 receptions in 50 receiving yards in 6 straight games. First running back ever to do that. Just an absolute dominating guy. Outside of him, there is no real light in this San Francisco offense for me right now, and I'm a little worried about them. I mean, you saw them last week against the Bucs. Bucs are, we've been huge on the Bucs this year, but I'm taking the Falcons on the road as dogs, man. They definitely, like you said, the bye week did wonders. I love what we saw out of Bijan, another guy that helped me beat Sean, but we love that. And he like you said before earlier in the show, Sean, big point. Saquon may be number 2 right now because Bijan is kind of number 1 on your list right now, and I don't know if the 49ers are going to be able to stop him.
Yep, I don't think so. Let's keep this moving along. So we have a doubleheader for Monday Night Football. First, this one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers making their way to Detroit, take on the Lions. Lions favorites by -4.5, over under here 52.5. Now, this is a playoff match just a few years ago. Now they're set to take on one another. I got to go with the Lions in this one. I think that they're just really finding their rhythm. Some questionable calls against the Lions for the Chiefs, I will say. When I was watching that game, I get the pass interference call. I also think that's just football and sports. Not something I would have called. Mm-hmm. I also didn't understand why the touchdown didn't count fully. Still don't today. I'm not an NFL ref. I am merely just a fan that's voicing his opinion.
But he still wouldn't have called that.
I would not have called that. I know the conspiracy theories out there about the Chiefs. Whether or not I subscribe, I don't know. I think that there are some favorites for sure, though. But I like the Lions in this one. I think that they're just get right game for them after facing the Chiefs. You're at home. You're going to get the home crowd. Bucks, despite playing great, they're still beat up. Then this is going to be a crucial moment. This will be who's the best in the NFC right now, Bucks or Lions? I think it's going to be Lions.
Oh man, I mean, I literally just said in the last game how big we are on the Bucks. They're 5-1. They just beat the Niners. Baker is doing it with Tez Johnson, Cade Otton, and Sterling Shepard. Shout out Sterling Shepard. The Lions are right now, they're a complete team to me. They've just had one of the harder schedules that we've been covering. I feel like every week we're talking about them playing another playoff team. This is going to be a good time for them. If Tampa was fully healthy, I feel like we'd both be riding them. And it just, like you said, the injuries, it's not great, right now. It's the same thing I feel with the Niners, the same way I feel about the Bucks. It's tough to just pick that team. I'm going to go with the Lions. I think this is a big David Montgomery game. I could feel that. I can I think that it's just one of those things where you can see those games he has his performances. So I'm taking everything David Montgomery, starting him this week. And Amon-Ra, 6 touchdowns leading the league right now. Every week Jared Goff is getting 2 passing touchdowns. He got the 1.5 from me this week in the Discord. Love him. But man, I wish Ibuka, Evans, and Godwin were fully healthy in this matchup.
Yeah, that's something that's like the one thing you'd love to see, especially with the beat up Lions secondary. But moving this into our last game of the week, 10 p.m. on Monday. Houston Texans making their way to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are in this by -3 with an over-under here of 41.5. Break down this game for us. What are your thoughts?
Dude, we got Houston, like you said, Seattle. Seattle, before got that win against the Jags, we didn't really know what to think. Every week we're thinking weirdly about Seattle. Houston, I'm big on Houston right now. I think that they are doing way better than we thought. I think they're getting a lot of different people involved in their offense. You never really know who's going to score every week. They're playing at Seattle, tough place. We've been saying this is the time of the season where you start feeling those home field advantages from these teams. So I want to take Seattle. I'm going to take the Texans this week. I love how CJ Stroud has actually been playing. I got to give him his credit. I was giving him a lot of crap in the earlier episodes. But, last week against the Ravens, easy matchup, 4 touchdowns. A week before, against the Titans, easy matchup. This week, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but I think coming off those good games, I feel really good about him and Nico Collins. You got to shout out JSN on the other side, man. This guy leading the league right now, on pace to pass Calvin's record through 6 games. He's on pace for 1,976 yards, dude.
Yeah, he's going to have a hell of a season. We loved him coming out of college here. We were not worried about his rookie season the way that others. We were like, this is gonna happen. Don't worry, everybody. Similar to LSU, OSU has some dogs in there, so don't worry.
Yeah.
I am going with Seattle. Like we said, this is the time where the fan base, the 12s, really come out. Their defense is playing electric. They're suffocating people. Their offense is playing electric. I still think it's okay that the Vikings let Sam Darnold walk, and it's not because of the play. They moved picks to get J.J. McCarthy. They traded up to get him. They traded back up to get Dallas Turner. They're sticking with that. We have a great coach. We do have the weapons. It makes total sense. When we signed a quarterback to a large contract for a short term, it was Kirk Cousins. And that situation didn't allow us cap flexibility.
Yeah.
I think it was still a smart move despite the Vikings quarterback play at the moment. I love it for Sam Darnold. I love what's going on with Seattle. I think he's really silenced my worry about the offensive line. He's playing great. I think this team has the juice. Just got to give them a few more weeks, let the San Francisco injuries finally catch up to San Francisco, and they'll slowly pull away with that lead, and it'll just be them and the Rams. But I like them this week. I think they might have a field day. This might be a Seattle defense start week if you have them just sort of sitting around up against.
Well, pick 6. You feeling some defensive touchdown vibes from this game?
I'm feeling sacks, dude. I feel like it's like 4-sack game. That's 8 points, man.
We love finding some sacks. Sean's definitely gonna have to throw a sack bet out there in the Discord this week.
Keep your eyes open for that one, because that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank everyone for listening.
Appreciate it always. Thank you guys. Week 7 already here. This is nuts. We are loving having all you guys checking us out every week. Just Saying Football on YouTube. Check us out in your ears. Get us in there on Spotify. And make sure to check us out on Instagram, Just Saying with no G, WJS. And you get all your updates right there. And appreciate everybody.